So I'm going to start record now. If you are not comfortable with that, you could always just send us a message via email afterwards, and we will be happy to answer your questions then. And the recording will be shared with you afterwards as well. So before I continue, I just want to acknowledge our traditional land. So we wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and most recently the Mississaugas of Credit River. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. So it is now my absolute pleasure to introduce you to the Dean of the Faculty of Information, Professor Duff, who's going to provide you with a welcome. She is just joining, so just give her a second to join here. Okay, perfect. Hi, Wendy. Okay.
Sorry. Is it up? I'm 1 minute late. I am on, Andrea?
I think you are on mute.
Great. Can everyone hear me? Because Andrea's coming through as garbled a bit.
There we go.
One of the things that we're finding, here you are, and we're waiting, and we're all waiting for that vaccine, and we're hoping the predictions that we'll all be back on campus come September. So our Museum Studies program, there's many different types of programs that I'm sure you all know, as you probably investigated. One of the things that our program, because it's within a Faculty of Information, and that Faculty of Information really believes in interdisciplinary research. We believe that to produce the next leaders in the museum field, understanding and working across many fields. It also realizes, of course, that our world is certainly changed dramatically because of technology and the changes that we've had. And within the iSchool, we believe that, and we study interdisciplinary, but we have people, we have information, and we have technology, and we also understand that that is within a community and within a society. And one of the things that certainly sets our Museum Studies program apart, I believe, is it very much focuses on museum and the community within our place. So I don't know, I know there's a whole host of things that are going on. So I think I'm going to hand it back to Andrea. But I would really like to welcome you all. Andrea, is that okay?
Andrea was having some audio issues, so she'll be back in just a moment.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
I was going to say I could. Oh, Andrea's back. So anyway, welcome, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of the session.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Professor Duff. Okay, so it is now also my great pleasure to introduce you to, switch slides here, to Professor Chalice, who's going to give us a overview of the Masters of Museum Studies program. I can't speak today.
We will make you a moderator, Professor Chalice.
Thank you for that. That's exactly what I had my hand up raised for. Great. So welcome, everyone. My name is Agnieszka Chalice. I'm an assistant professor within the teaching stream, I should say, within the Museum Studies program, where I teach a number of different courses, including our capstone project, our exhibition project. I teach likewise an internship course, an education and public programming course, interpretation and meaning making in the museum, as well as a course that is essentially an introduction to visitor research in informal learning settings. And a little bit more about me. I have a broad background working in a number of different art museums specifically. And most recently, that involved or included working as the Director of Education and Public Programming at the Kitchener-Waterloo Art Gallery. But I've also worked as a museum educator across a number of other cultural institutions in Canada, including the Vancouver Art Gallery, the Surrey Art Gallery, just outside of Greater Vancouver, and the Canadian Centre for Architecture. So my research is really quite interdisciplinary, and Dr. Duff mentioned the interdisciplinary in our interdisciplinarity. I can't speak this morning either. It would appear in our program. So really my research crosses a number of different areas. It blends participatory practices in museum education, but also with program evaluation and visitor research in museums, looking at how museums across type and sector evaluate the educational outcomes and other outcomes and impacts of not only their educational programs, but also their other initiatives, including exhibits, etc. So that's a little bit about me. And as Dr. Duff mentioned, our program is really designed to prepare students for a wide range of different job roles and careers within the museum's field. And you can see our vision and our mission here, and I'll just read them out to people. Essentially, the reason I shared some of my professional background and expertise with you is that with that background and expertise, what we aim to do is to inspire international leadership in museum studies through integrated research, collaborative research, our teaching practices within the faculty, as well as our professional practices in the field. And we do this in order to develop innovative museum professionals that are capable of critical thinking, who contribute to communities by improving the relevance of cultural institutions and engaging social responsibility, or sorry, encouraging social responsibility. And we strive to discover, apply, and communicate existing and evolving theories and best practices. So our work is very much rooted in not only best practice, but also the theories that undergird our practices or undergird what is currently viewed as exemplary practice in the field across a number of different museum studies areas. So as you can see from this infographic, we have students that come to the program from a really wide range of backgrounds. The majority of them do, however, come from arts and humanities, so art history, the visual arts, lots of other different disciplines, but some also come from the STEM fields, business and economics, and other areas as well. So just as our student body is quite diverse, our faculty is likewise quite diverse and reflects that diversity. So I mentioned earlier that my academic background is in education, as well as the fine arts, but we likewise have faculty working in the program that come from a wide range of other academic areas, such as some of those that you can see here. Food history, for example, art history, anthropology, education, digital humanities, etc. And not only does our faculty come from a wide range of academic backgrounds, they likewise come from a wide range of professional backgrounds. So I mentioned my past professional backgrounds being as the head of education of a museum education department. But we likewise have faculty that have either worked in the past or currently work as professionals in the field across a wide range of institutions and roles. So for example, we have faculty that work as visitor research specialists at the Royal Ontario Museum. We also have other faculty that are employed as curators of contemporary art and other types of institutions. And we likewise have faculty on staff that work as independent conservation consultants. So our academic and professional base as faculties is quite wide-ranging in order to support a wide range of student professional interests. So students in the, or essentially the Museum Studies program is designed for students who want to work across some of the focal areas that you see here. Focus areas that range from collections management to curatorial practice, digital heritage, museum education and public programming, museum interpretation, visitor research, museum management, global cultures and museums, as well as within Indigenous communities. And a couple notes on our program. The Museum Studies program essentially has 5 main or required courses that are foundational to all students and essentially serve or aim to provide our student body with some kind of founding, grounding, broad-based knowledge. And then from there, students are, based on their interests, they can select a number of different elective courses, whether they are elective courses from within our program or electives from outside of the program, such as in the Masters of Information or the MI program. So popular electives within the program include a course called Artifact Audience and Text, which essentially looks at the various types and modes of writing that one might encounter in a museum setting, from exhibits panel writing all the way to curatorial essay writing, etc. A course such as the elective, a very popular course, the Digital Museum, that looks at lots of different digital strategies, interpretation strategies in museum settings. We also offer 2 separate courses on visitor research, one which is foundational and one which sees students undertake a broad range of different visitor research as well as program evaluation studies within a real-life museum context, as well as a course on public programs and education. And of course, you can see some of the electives from the Masters of Information program listed here. A really popular one is User Experience Design for GLAM institutions. And of course, there are a wide host of other electives to choose from. Students in the program essentially take one of 2 different pathways. The first pathway is a thesis project. And the second pathway is an exhibition project, or otherwise known as a major capstone project. So I wanted just to overview both of those potential pathways for people. So the thesis project is essentially what it sounds like. It's a thesis. It really allows students to conduct in-depth research and write a paper, a significant paper on a specific topic of their choosing. And you can see some of the topics that students have decided to pursue in the past. It's a really great option, especially for those students that are interested in pursuing further academic work, particularly a PhD down the road. We have students that have completed theses on the history of interpretive planning in Canada, for example. And we have a student who's currently investigating the way in which institutions that deal with science and environmental issues evaluate the outcomes of their environmental programs. I would say that the more popular option or pathway for students in this particular program, because it is a professional program, is the exhibition project. And this project is essentially, or this course is essentially a two-term course that students enroll in the second year of the program. And in the course, students work either individually or more likely or more often in groups, small groups, in conjunction with some kind of local museum or other cultural institution to realize and fully curate either an exhibition, so a full-fledged physical exhibition or online exhibition, or some other form of exhibition-related or exhibition-adjacent project, such as a master interpretive plan, or, for example, an educational website. We've had students conduct feasibility studies for this course, as well as research into inclusive practices across museums. So it's really quite open. Even though the course is called Exhibition Project, it's really a misnomer. We should really call it the Capstone Project. So it's a major project that students undertake. And as you can see here, we partner with a wide range of institutions on this project, both within Toronto, the GTA, but also sometimes more broadly. Past partners have included the Archive of Ontario, the ROM, Ripley's Aquarium, Ontario Jewish Archives, the Toronto Railway Museum, the Ontario Science Centre, and the list goes on. This year in the course, we're partnering with a total of 22 different institutions from across Toronto and beyond. So a couple of examples. And while I mentioned exhibition adjacent or related projects, I'm going to just overview two specific exhibition projects for people, one physical and one digital. So what you're looking at here is a physical exhibition that students curated last year at the Markham Museum. It was essentially an exhibit that explored the history of technology and communication in the city of Markham. And you can see our two curators, or student curators, in the photo on this slide, next to some of the panels and the displays that they developed for this particular exhibit. An online example, and there are many, includes this particular exhibit, Uncovering Union, which was an exhibit that was undertaken by 3 of our MMSt students in collaboration with the Toronto Railway Museum last year. So it's a fully online exhibit that explores the history of Union Station through a variety of different themes or stories. And further to those two examples, if you're interested, there are a number of a plethora really of other examples that you can look at with respect to the kinds of projects that students have undertaken in the exhibition project course in the past. So I encourage you to visit DisplayCase on our website, and essentially DisplayCase will allow you to browse every exhibition project that was undertaken in the program throughout the years. So a lot of different possibilities and examples there for people to take a look at. And inspiration, I should add as well. We also, one of the electives that is quite popular that I did not mention, and really quite relevant to students obtaining some meaningful hands-on field work in the field, is our internship course. And the internship course typically takes place in the first summer of the program. It can likewise, thank you, Melissa, for adding that. It can likewise be taken in the second year of the program, although I would say most students prefer to take it in the first summer of the program, as they're likely to be graduating in the second. And it essentially sees students work full-time over the course of either a 10 to 12-week placement in some kind of institutional setting. Whether that setting is within Toronto, whether that setting is in Canada, or whether that setting is a museum or some kind of other institution elsewhere in the world or North America. So we've had people intern at the Smithsonian, and we've had people intern in museums in Greece. So a wide range of different cultural organizations. Right now we have students interning at the Aga Khan Museum, as well as the Royal Ontario Museum, etc. And prior to this particular elective, so the actual internship course, students usually take a preparatory or a prerequisite course, which is a workplace preparation course that they take in the first year. So if you're interested in undertaking an internship course, which I would highly recommend in the first summer of the program, you will need to register for the prerequisite course in the first year. And of course, our internships are sometimes paid, sometimes unpaid, depending on the institution. And I believe that one of our students will be overviewing her internship experience for you later in this presentation. So you'll get a bit of a chance to hear more about that in greater depth from her. So students in the Museum Studies program are also eligible to enroll in our combined degree program. So this is a program that is essentially a combination of the Museum Studies program and our Masters of Information program. And the Masters of Information program essentially has, as you would have seen from our website, if you've browsed that or are interested in this particular combination degree, it has 8 separate concentrations. They include human-centered data science, user experience design, library information science, knowledge management and information management, information systems and design, culture and technology, critical information policy studies, and archives and records management. So this program is essentially ideal for those students that have interests in one of these other MI concentrations. So interests in museum informatics, digital culture, heritage, cultural information policy, digital curation, or the use of social networking technologies in museums. And in this particular case, students typically complete the requirements of both degree programs in around 3 years, with the first year being devoted to taking coursework in the Museum Studies program, the second year being devoted to taking coursework in the other concentration, so the MI program, and then the third year being devoted to students sort of making up electives and other course requirements from both programs, so whatever courses may be remaining. In addition to the combined degree program, students in the MMSt program, the Museum Studies program, are also eligible to apply to a variety of collaborative specializations that are offered in partnership with other graduate units across the University of Toronto. So other faculty, other institutes, etc. And you can see some of the programs that are available on the left-hand side of this slide. But and these are available through graduate units such as the Culinaria Research Center, the Anne Tenenbaum Center for Jewish Studies, the Knowledge Media Design Institute, as well as the Mark S. Bonham Center for Sexual Diversity. And so this is a specialization that's available to all MMSt students. However, students must be enrolled not only in the MMSt program, but also in one of those other collaborating graduate units that I would have just mentioned. So I think that's it for my particular overview of the Museum Studies program, and I'm happy to take questions at the end. And I know we will have time for questions to go into greater depth into either the exhibition project course or the internship course or the program in general overall. And I think now I'm passing the presentation over to our president and our vice president of our Museum Studies Student Association. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. If you can't hear me or anything, please just let me know in the chat. But hello, it's actually just me today. So my name is Melissa. I am the president of our Master of Museum Studies Student Association, also known as MUSA. So welcome to Info Day. I'm very happy to be here with you. Just a little bit of background about MUSA. We represent the Museum Studies and Combined Degree Program students in the faculty. Our main goal is to build a sense of community among students through professional development opportunities and social events, as well as keeping students connected with faculty and the larger museum community, especially this year, considering we've all been online. We also have student representatives on MUSA's council who sit on committees within the faculty to keep student voices at the table, as well as report back on happenings within the faculty to students. So we also play a really large role in advocacy for the student body, as well as kind of keeping relationships with faculty members. In terms of new students or students that aren't on MUSA, all students are invited to participate in our events and activities, which we've done a lot of. In the past, we've done things like behind the scenes museums. We've had guest speakers, held conferences and panels, movie nights, trivia and game nights, a bunch of fun stuff like that. We also did a trip to Ottawa to visit museums and kind of get some insider scoop, I guess, on what it's like to work in a museum. And we also sell museum studies merchandise and do sort of smaller in-faculty things. Obviously, in this day and age, considering the circumstances, we haven't been able to do as many in-person events, but we've been really amping up our online events. We just held our trivia night this past week, which was really fun, and we hope to continue doing things like that into the new year. But yeah, it's just a really great opportunity to kind of take a break from academics and still get a chance to know folks in the program sort of more personally and not always academically, so it's really great. In terms of involvement with MUSA, if you are interested in being part of our council and helping to organize our operations and activities, in total we have about 20 positions that are open in general at the beginning of the school year, and there are specific positions available for first-year students. So for example, that includes our first year representative who sort of acts as a liaison between the student body and MUSA, telling us about, comments, concerns, what they want to see, what they don't want to see, that kind of stuff. And a bunch of other positions too, which we post about closer to election date, which I can share socials and stuff with you guys after. It's a really great way to kind of get involved with the program and get to know the faculty on a more personal basis, which is really great. It's a good way also to work with your peers, network, and also build some really great skills for your resume, especially skills around event planning and working with groups. Collaboration is super important in the museum field, and MUSA is a really great way to get some of those skills. I also quickly wanted to mention another student group in our faculty, Museum Professionals of Color. I don't believe we have a representative here today, but MPOC is a recent group formed by 4 students in our cohort earlier this year. They've been working really, really hard with a bunch of events, which I can describe after, but they essentially exist to advocate for greater representation for people of color in our program and in the greater museum field. They've done some super amazing stuff this year, including panel discussions. They've had articles and interviews published, planning events and discussions and social media campaigns all around diversity, inclusion, and representation. I'm gonna link their socials in the chat, as well as MUSA's, but they're a really great group to kind of be aware of and also to get involved in if you are to come to the faculty. And yeah, basically MUSA is just a really great way to be involved and to kind of have a say in what events and initiatives the student body has access to. If you have any questions about MUSA or MPOC or the program more generally, anybody on MUSA is happy to help. I'm here for the whole day, so I'm happy to answer questions later. And I'll definitely be around in the Q&A too. So feel free to follow our socials, which I'll put in the chat, or reach out. I'll put my personal email as well. And yeah, welcome to Info Day, and I hope you guys have a great day.
Great. Thank you very much, Melissa. That was great. So next we have, oh, there we go, Jamie, who's from Musings, and we're going to talk about the student blog.
Hello, so I am Jamie. I'm one of the editors-in-chief of Musings MMSt student blog. The other editor is Erica, but similar to Melissa, you just have me today. And so the Musings blog was created in 2014 by Dr. Irina Mikulka, who is one of the professors at the department, and I definitely butchered her last name, but we usually just refer to her as Irina, and she created this blog, and it's really grown since then to have many different columns, and our mission is to provide a platform for opinions, critiques, and discussions of contemporary museum practices by emerging museum professionals. So we have columns for everything from fundraising to museum mysteries and our internship check-in. We have object of the week, clothing related ones, food related ones. So really any sort of museum interest you have, we probably have a column about it that we'd love for you to write for. It's all about bringing in your interests about museums or things that you think you might be interested in. For example, I didn't know much about collections, so I wrote the Collections Corner column for a bit just to kind of see what there was to explore. It's a great opportunity to get non-academic writing under your belt. It's edited by Erica, so you have someone going through your work, providing feedback, and you get published. It's really nice on the resume. And also if you apply for a job that asks for a writing sample, you have something via Musings already ready to go. And so you can register. We take people in each semester, so fall and winter semester, and we put out a call for submissions on our social media, and you send an email, we send you an application, and we get all your information, and you get started writing for us. And even if you see a column, you don't see a column that really fits for you, doesn't work for you, we're also happy to make new columns. That's why we have so many right now. We're always happy to expand on what we have and create new things in order to collaborate with students and make sure you guys are getting the most out of your museum studies experience. Yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Jamie. And I'm going to now pass it on to Samantha. There's actually an error in the title there. It should be CDP, not CRO. Sorry about that, but Samantha, welcome.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Andrea. So yes, I'm doing the combined degree program. So on top of the MMSt, I'm doing library and information science and archives and records management. I did the book history and print culture collaborative program with Massey College, and I'm currently writing a thesis, which generally isn't allowed for the CDP. I kind of had to talk my way into being allowed to write a thesis instead of doing a final exhibition project. But which I guess brings me to the key thing I would want people to know about this program. I think this is such an interesting program for all of the reasons that you've already heard. And it's really customizable. Some of you will be coming into this as, this being your first grad school experience. Some of you already have grad degrees. But grad school, it really is what you make it, and you can very much make it your own. So, take the required courses, of course, you have to. But also look into courses at other faculties or other courses, in the MI. Look into collaborative programs. This is really, being in this program is really an opportunity to learn not only how museums work and how to work in a museum, but also to take learning from other fields, including the fields you're coming from, to engage with other ways of thinking and other areas of research, and to bring them all together to create a unique experience that will make you a unique employee, a unique person in this field. So I guess I feel like maybe that's a big idea to start with, but that's my number one piece of advice coming into this, is take every opportunity to make this your own space and your own thing. And a big part of that for me has been extracurriculars. I write for Musings, actually that fundraising column that has been me for the past 2.5 years because I work in fundraising. I'm currently doing an internship at Toronto's first post office, which is a small museum and cultural center downtown that deals with the early history of Toronto and the city of York. And there I have been, gosh, I mean, the great thing about internships, or at least my internship in particular, is that they really do, with tons of guidance and support, sort of throw you into the deep end. So I have this amazing team that I work with. I have a wonderful board that I report to. And it's a great opportunity to not only put my learning from the faculty into practice, but also to add to that learning and to learn things that I wouldn't have learned otherwise. I mean, there are things that happen in the field that no classroom can prepare you for. So having sort of a safe opportunity to make the odd little mistake or to reach out to people, to build a network, is really, really invaluable. The internship is not a requirement for the degree, but you'll hear everyone say that it's strongly recommended. And I echo those sentiments. I do strongly recommend that everyone give an internship a shot. And if not an internship, volunteering or something. So being a student in the faculty, you'll find, depending on the COVID situation, we'll see what, normal life looks like. It's very much, the coursework is, I would say, extremely doable. It's not a super, super high pressure coursework, which is lovely. And what that means is that you do have time to join those extracurriculars. You do have time to reach out and maybe volunteer somewhere or get a job somewhere relevant to your interests. And you also have time to network. If you've ever, I speak at the odd sort of student event, and you will always hear me say that networking is the most important thing you can do during your degree. And the phenomenal thing about the Faculty of Information in general is that it's a very well-known faculty in its fields. U of T has a phenomenal reputation, and people love to hear from students and to hear from students from this program. So just by being a student, on top of learning from these amazing professors, learning from your incredible colleagues, I mean, the amount of information and background that other students bring to this program and to this faculty is phenomenal. In addition to learning from all of these other sort of on-campus sites and on-campus sources of information, you really have a great excuse to reach out to everybody and anybody in the field and in your particular area of interest to meet up with them and learn from them as well. So I know it sounds like a lot. I'm throwing a lot of different sources of learning at you and saying, try an internship, try a job, try volunteering, try networking, go to classes, et cetera, look at other faculties, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there are so many people at the faculty to help you with this. Everyone you've heard from, so many more people you will hear from going forward. And it really is such a lovely place to be a student. It's such a lovely community. This is my third and fourth degree, so I've sort of been around the university circuit. And this faculty really is a very special place to be a student and to learn. So if you choose to join us, and I hope you do, that's something to keep in mind and very much to take advantage of. Okay, thank you. I think we're moving on to questions now.
Great, thank you so much. That was great. Thank you to all of our amazing speakers today. That was wonderful. So I'm going to just switch slides here, and before we get into Q&A, just kind of give you a breakdown of the rest of the day. So at 12 o'clock, if you are interested in going on a virtual tour, you can do that with one of our student ambassadors, Nicole, and she'll be happy to lead you on a virtual tour of the iSchool. And for those of you who are interested in the Masters of Information, the sessions are going to start at 12 o'clock, starting with an admissions, careers, and money matters session, followed by program overview and breakout sessions. And then for those of you who are interested in hearing more from our students and chatting a bit more with our museum and MI students, you can join the Mix and Mingle with students at 2:30. And feel free to go enter and exit the rooms as you see fit and as you are interested in. And then if you didn't want to go on the 12 o'clock tour, we're going to have a final tour of the day at 3 o'clock, so feel free to join that as well. And for those of you who haven't joined any of our previous sessions, the prize code is listed on the screen, NOV 2020. If you don't know what that is, everyone attending today's event will be entered into a draw for a $50 U of T bookstore gift cards. So you will receive a survey soon after the event, and you can enter the code into one of the survey responses to be entered into a draw for some fun prizes. So now I'm going to open it up to the floor. There are a lot of people here who are excited to talk to you and answer your questions, so feel free to ask us your questions. And again, the session is being recorded, so I will share the recording with everybody afterwards. And you can ask us questions about admissions, about careers, or any of the information that you heard about during this session. Everyone is so quiet. Hopefully that means that we've all done such a wonderful job answering all of your questions. Carol, yeah. You have a question, Carol?
I think guests in this session can neither contribute to the chat nor can they unmute themselves.
So you won't be able to unmute yourself, but you should be able to chat in the chat box. Hopefully everyone's chat works now. So again, if you do have any questions, please feel free to write it in the chat box.
We don't bite. I think I can speak to this one a little bit if the other presenters don't mind. So the question from Carol is, do we find it difficult juggling a full course load with activities and thesis and like all of these other things that we do? I would say yes, at times. I have been overwhelmed. I personally have 3 volunteer positions, a number of jobs, and then, these other things that I mentioned. And I think this is just a sort of a grad school experience in general. Learning time management has been my absolute best friend. And I tell people it's really just about knowing where your own personal limit is, where that line is for you of what's too much, and knowing how to stop before that. So some people are like absolute machines, and I see them do wild amounts of things, and other people don't. And it's really just about figuring out what opportunities to take for yourself that will best get you where you want to go. So you don't have to be in every single club. Not every single club is going to be helpful to you. So don't. Just pick the things that really make sense for you. Focus on them. Do fewer things really well rather than doing a ton of things and getting overwhelmed. That would be my thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I want to build a bit on what Samantha said, because she's absolutely right that once you're able to time manage, it's definitely manageable, because it is really great to make connections within the program and get the most out of it. Something else I want to add too is that even if you take these things on and suddenly you're halfway through the semester and it gets a bit overwhelming, whether it's an extracurricular like MUSA or Musings, you can reach out to us and talk to us, and we're always willing to make things work, as well as your professors. Professors are great to talk to. They're very supportive, very understanding, because at the end of the day, they want you to get the most out of this program without it affecting your mental health. So they're always happy to chat with you. There's also great supports at student services who can help you out. So even if you end up taking on a little bit too much, there's always ways to easily remedy that.
I actually, if I could jump in, I just wanted to, again, agree with what Jamie and Samantha have said, and then just, say that it's really important to take care of your mental health. So if there's a month that gets really busy for you, or a life event happens, because life happens, even during COVID, there are things that come up, and some things are out of your control. I would really, really, really emphasize the importance of talking to your professors and the folks that you work with, whether it's actually at work or MUSA or Musings. I can't obviously just speak with like a broad brushstroke about every single situation, but in my experience, there have been no situations where a professor has either not been understanding or not been willing to have a conversation about something. Everybody, both myself and friends that I know that have needed assistance from professors, have always gotten it. So I think the benefit of having also a really intimate grad school experience, and by that I mean, working with a lot of the same people in a lot of the same classes. You see a lot of profs multiple times throughout your time here. I think a really great benefit to that is that you can build those relationships, and it kind of breaks down that barrier of being afraid to ask for help, or afraid to say, I need some extra time, or can we talk about this? I came straight from my undergrad, and I think that experience in my undergrad was a lot different than here, in the way that in my undergrad I was more hesitant to ask for assistance or if I needed help, or there was less of an understanding that life exists outside of school also, which I haven't found here. Everybody's been super accommodating. So yeah, I think at times it can get to be a lot, but knowing when to tap out or to take a break is really important, which you'll get more used to as you get busier. And also really leaning on the folks that are here to support you, I think, is important. But don't get intimidated. That wasn't meant to be intimidating. That was meant to be helpful. So even if things get overwhelming, there are a lot of people here to support you.
Yeah, I can actually speak to that as well. I haven't met any of you yet. My name is Sydney, and I'm actually a recent alum of the program as of June. But of course, our current students have had incredible things to say and amazing advice, which I know that I followed when I was a student. But kind of leading into how it leads into your professional life, it's really, obviously the skills when you are in class that you are gaining from your specific courses are going to be really beneficial, but also that multitasking and learning what works for you and doesn't work for you is really helpful. And I know that especially in this world where I am working remotely at my job at U of T, it's something that you really learn what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and it's going to be beneficial to you for the rest of your career. So this is a place where, as we've said, the faculty and staff and the other students are so supportive and so helpful, and especially when you communicate with them and you communicate early, that is something that they're going to be even more understanding. I overloaded and I took 5 courses in one semester, and I made sure I told each of my professors that I was overloading, and that made it a lot easier when in week 11 I had to come to one of my professors and say, I don't have time to do your assignment right now, I need an extension, and she was happy to grant it because I communicated with her and spoke to her throughout the semester, and that was something that she really appreciated, instead of me coming at the last minute seeming like I hadn't really thought these things through. So don't be afraid to make mistakes or fail in the faculty, because you've got so much support and everyone's going to be there to help you get up and move on to the next step.
So I see Shauna has asked us, is the hands-on learning limited to the internship and exhibition project? Is it integrated into other courses? I would say quite simply, there's hands-on components in, I want to say, almost every mandatory course. If you aren't building something or creating something, then you're actually going into museums and like writing reports based on what you're actually seeing and doing in there. Yes, and iSkills workshops, which are an option to learn, again, just more diverse hands-on skills. So no, it is not just limited to those, but those are the only 2 experiences I can think of that are strictly 100% in the field, hands-on in the field.
So just to add to Samantha's comment, one example that comes to mind for me is the museums and their publics course. So it's a visitor research course, but this is a course where once you learn some of the foundational theory around visitor research and program evaluation, the course is really devoted to students conducting research, visitor research, audience research, and program evaluation studies in museums. So typically they either go to the ROM or the AGO and work on visitor research studies that the AGO is working on or the ROM is working on, that they hand over to the student group. So it's very much a hands-on course, and it's outside of the other 2 courses mentioned, internship and exhibitions. So I would say that that hands-on component in some form or fashion is integrated into, in my experience, into every program.
Those are really great questions. Thank you, everyone, for asking your questions. We still have a bit of time left, so if you had any more questions, definitely feel free to write them in the chat.
Well, I guess think about questions. I actually have one for the other MMST students and Sydney alum. It might be helpful for people to hear what's like the #1 piece of advice you wish you'd gotten on day 1 of the program. And maybe you've picked it up and learned it and implemented it on the way, or maybe not, but that could be helpful.
So sorry, my video is having some issues. I would say take risks. I constantly find myself looking back, and especially being involved at these events and hearing the courses that are being offered and the courses that were offered during my time. And I kick myself for not trying something different and trying something new. I really stuck close to what I knew, and what I had some knowledge about, instead of going out of my comfort zone. And I really didn't leave my comfort zone until my final year. And in my last semester, I took a course about user experience in galleries, libraries, archives, and museums, which we lovingly refer to as GLAM. So it was one of my favorite courses, taught by a professor I never would have had I not taken that risk and having him become one of my favorite professors. And it was just an experience where I know I carry that knowledge with me, not just in a museum setting, but in really any setting when I'm looking at a website or I'm looking at the layout of a room, when it comes to visitors. So there's so much that I could have learned, but I was too scared to, because I thought I would fail, or I thought I would not like it. And another thing is too, you will find things that you don't like, and that is just as helpful as finding something you do like. I took a course about writing text panels, and I had to write text panels for my exhibition project. I really don't like that aspect of museums, and that's fine. I know where I really thrive in collections, and I know where I don't thrive. So that helped me kind of look at jobs and say, maybe this is for me, or maybe it's not for me, and somebody who really likes writing text panels can take that job. So yeah, really explore a lot of things. And this is just general good life advice. Try something, you know, you never know if it's going to become your brand new passion and your career someday.
I can pop in too with some advice. I would just like to echo that 100% knowing what you don't love is important too. Like, it's still great experience, especially with the required courses. They give you kind of a broad range of what your museum experience could like, and knowing where you maybe excel and where you don't want to work is also important, especially when you come to the point later on when you start applying for jobs or trying to find jobs that kind of improve the skill set in the area that you're hoping to go. Those types of experiences are also just as important. But another piece of advice that I would give myself if I was starting again would be not to sell yourself short. You'll hear a lot about imposter syndrome, which basically is just feeling like, you know, you don't belong where you are, or that you like fooled everybody and, you know, you shouldn't have gotten into this program, but somehow you're here. And that feeling is very real a lot of the time. But I think that it's important to remember that, you know, once you get into the program, that you did get in here. So there's at least a team of admissions folks that believe in you. Your peers believe in you. This is going to get real cheesy, but I think that it's also important that you believe in yourself. You have a lot of great skills, and just because your skills look different from somebody else's, it doesn't mean that they're any more or less valid. And I think that people having different skills is an asset in this program. A lot of my peers have such cool experience that, like, I can't even describe, like, museum experience, non-museum experience. And I think that that makes the program really fulfilling. So yeah, I would just encourage you to kind of cut yourself some slack and know that, you know, your skills are just as important, even if they're different from the person next to you. But yeah, that's also another, imposter syndrome will hit you sometimes, but it's important to try to push through that. And I think relying on your peers for that is really important too.
I'd just like to add to Melissa, your comment about imposter syndrome. I was once having like a little bout of imposter syndrome, and a friend said to me, like, do you really, like, the people here, the people in admissions, everyone here, they're really good at their jobs, they are really smart, do you really think you fooled them? Like, do you really think you're the one mistake they made in the past 5 years? Chances are, no, you're not. You're here for a reason. They let you in for a reason. They didn't mess up, and you're the result of that. So if you can't believe in yourself at any given moment, believe in the admissions team, because they're great at their jobs and they let you in on purpose.
Let me also add something in there as part of that wonderful admissions team who reads hundreds and hundreds of application essays. We hope to see your personality come out. We hope to see what makes you you and makes you unique. We want to have a really engaging, diverse set of students within our classroom setting such that our faculty can really dig into some really unique issues and different perspectives. And so we're looking to support the uniqueness that makes you who you are. And we really hope that you can share that with us in your application essay. And if you had a little bump along the road in one of your prior degrees or a class that really helped you learn something about yourself, your resilience, your strengths, maybe you identifying some of your weaknesses, how you worked to address those in an academic setting or with personal, professional, family support. Those are the kinds of things that really help us as an admissions committee make a decision, because we want to know how, as a group, the class will navigate this educational experience together. So it is a collaborative effort. It is making time to support your peers, support one another, communicate with your faculty. And so when looking through that application stack every year, it's how can you share that with us, and how can you understand at least a little bit before you get here on maybe what you can contribute to this environment. So it's definitely holistic, and Andrea, of course, always goes through that. We're not looking for everybody to have an A+. We're not looking for everyone to look the same. We want diversity within our students, your backgrounds, your work situations, your family situations, your geographic situations and locations. Of course, at some point we all will be in Toronto, but we want to have that richness in the students who are accepted to our program. So please remember to include what makes you you when putting together your statement.
Great. I think that is all wonderful advice. So I'm just going to say thank you all again for attending today's session so far. There is a bit of a break now before the next session starts. The Masters of Information Admissions, Careers, and Money Matters session will start at 12 o'clock, and we hope to see you there. And then feel free to, if you don't attend any of those sessions, to come back at 2:30 to chat some more with some of our students. And if this is it for you and you're logging off, I hope you have a great rest of the day, night, evening, whatever, again, time it is for you. And thank you all so very much for attending our event today.